You poisoned my daughter with this.
She should thank her right yet. She should be grateful for my thoughtfulness.
This ends now, Susan.
The fight for fairness, a father's battle against a suburban tyrant. The stench hit me like a punch to the gut before I even stepped into the kitchen. It was sharp, sour, and unmistakably rancid. My daughter, Lily, sat at the table, her small hands clasped tightly, her face pale as she fought not to gag. A plastic container sat open in front of her, a yellow sticky note attached. For the sweet girl next door, from Susan. My stomach twisted with a mix of dread and fury. Lily, always taught to be polite, had taken a hesitant bite of a crumbling cookie before I got there. Her eyes met mine, uncertain, her lips trembling. I wanted to scream. I grabbed the container and peered inside. Mashed potatoes coated in green mold. Chicken that had turned an unnatural gray. The cookie was a powdery mess, reeking of something chemical. My heart sank, then burned. Lily, confined to a wheelchair since a car accident 3 years ago, didn't deserve this. No one did. I stormed across the street to Susan's house, the container clutched in my hands. She answered the door with a smug smile, like she'd been waiting for me. "Is something wrong, Tom?" she asked, her voice dripping with false sweetness. I held up the container. "You gave this to my daughter. She's in a wheelchair, not a dumpster." Her expression didn't flicker. No apology, no shock. Just a cold, calculated reply. She should be grateful someone thought of her. The words landed like a slap, cutting deeper than I expected. I stood there, stunned, as she shut the door in my face. That moment lit a fire in me. This wasn't just about rotten food. It was about a system that let people like Susan hide cruelty behind a smile. But she'd crossed the wrong father. When you mess with a man's daughter, especially one who's already fought battles no child should face, you'd better be ready for a fight. 3 years ago, I moved to Maple Grove, a suburban enclave in Ohio that promised safety, manicured lawns, and a tight-knit community. The brochure showed kids on bikes, a golden retriever bounding across a green lawn, and an American flag fluttering above white picket fences. It looked like the fresh start Lily and I needed. At 7, Lily had survived a car accident that left her paralyzed from the waist down. Her mother, my wife, didn't make it. The crash shattered our world. Hospital bills drained our savings, forcing me to sell our old home and find somewhere quieter, somewhere we could heal. Maple Grove seemed like that place. When we drove through the neighborhood's gated entrance, Lily's eyes sparkled. "It looks like a fairy tale, Dad," she said. I smiled and promised her we'd write our happy ending here. I believed it. I wanted to believe in second chances. But behind the pristine sidewalks and flower beds were people who smiled with their mouths, but judged with their eyes. At first, the signs were subtle. Susan, the HOA president, greeted us with a glossy welcome packet and a rehearsed smile. "We love seeing new faces in Maple Grove," she said, her tone polished but hollow. I wasn't sure if she meant me, a single dad, or Lily in her wheelchair, or both. I brushed it off. Lily was happy. We unpacked, planted a lilac bush in the front yard, and built a small ramp to the porch so she could get in and out on her own. That ramp was the first thing Susan zeroed in on. "I hope you submitted that for approval," she said during her next visit, handing me a violation notice tucked neatly inside a pamphlet. "We like to keep things uniform." I apologized and promised to fix it. I didn't want trouble. Lily had been through enough for learning how to navigate life, from brushing her teeth to pushing herself uphill, all while dealing with kids at school who stared too long or asked cruel questions. She never complained, though. Her quiet smile kept me going. But the notices kept coming. One for the ramps, 2 bright blue paint. Another toy was left near the driveway. Then, one for the fairy lights Lily loved to hang for every holiday. Each notice was signed sincerely, the HOA, but Susan's hand was all over them. I stayed quiet, thinking compliance would keep the peace. I was wrong. Lily noticed. She saw how Susan waved warmly to other neighbors, but passed us like we were invisible. She noticed how kids were steered away from our house during community picnics. It hurt, but I told her people just needed time. Then came the spring bake sale. Lily, who loved baking, spent 2 days mixing brownie batter despite her limited arm strength. We set up a table with handmade signs and a donation jar for spinal injury research. Not a single person stopped by. Susan's table, just yards away, was swarmed. When one mother started toward us, Susan whispered something, and the woman turned away, avoiding Lily's hopeful gaze. That was when I knew this wasn't just exclusion, it was deliberate. The real breaking point came when Lily came home from school with a gift bag. Her face lit up with rare excitement. "Miss Susan gave this to me," she said. Inside was a plastic container with a note. "Thought you'd enjoy something warm after a long day." I let my guard down, thinking maybe I'd misjudged Susan. That was my mistake. When I opened the container, the smell hit me. Lily had already bitten into the cookie. She frowned, pushing the plate away. "It tastes weird." I looked closer. The chicken was gray. The potatoes were fuzzy with mold. The cookie smelled like bleach. I threw it all out and rushed to Lily's side. She was pale, sweating, and shaking. The doctor confirmed mild food poisoning, dangerous for someone in her fragile condition. I didn't tell Lily what I suspected, but I knew Susan hadn't sent that food out of kindness. It was a message. When I confronted Susan, her words didn't just confirm Ivy set me ablaze. She should be grateful. Grateful for what? For being tolerated in a neighborhood that only accepted those who fit its mold? That night, as Lily slept, I sat in the dark, my anger boiling. I tried to keep the peace, but peace doesn't come from bowing to bullies. It comes from standing up for your child. Susan was about to learn that. The next morning, I marched to the HOA office with the container, the note, and Lily's medical report. The receptionist froze, but Susan emerged from the back, unfazed. "Is there a problem again?" she asked, that word again dripping with accusation. I laid out what happened, keeping my voice steady. Her smile didn't waver. "File a written complaint. We'll review it in 14 business days." 14 days? Lily could have died. That's when I realized I wasn't just fighting one cruel woman, I was up against a system that shielded her. I filed the complaint, but didn't stop there. I dug into every HOA policy, bylaw, and meeting minute I could get my hands on. Some records were redacted, others were missing, but Susan's name was everywhere. She wasn't just the president, she was the HOA, handpicking rules and running unopposed. The retaliation came fast. Within a week, 3 new violation notices arrived. One for the ramp's non-compliant design, another for a weed, it was a lavender plant, and a third for excessive wheeling noises from Lily's chair. Neighbors who once nodded politely now avoided us. One even crossed the street to dodge our yard. Lily's words broke me. "Dad, why did Mrs. Carter say I'm sick in the head?" I had no answer, but I had a mission. A friend from work, an IT guy named Jake, heard me out. "I know someone who worked security for HOA systems," he said. Days later, he handed me a bombshell, an email from Susan's account, subject line, "Troublesome Family Escalation." It urged board members to document violations to build a case against us and warned them not to engage directly. This wasn't negligence, it was a coordinated attack. I gathered everything. Photos of the spoiled food, Lily's hospital report, doorbell footage of Susan dropping off the container, and now the email. I knocked on the doors of neighbors who'd faced Susan's wrath. Most shut me out, but one, Mr. Harris, a retired Marine, listened. "She fined me $150 for my flagpole being an inch too tall," he growled. I paid to avoid her nonsense. He asked, "What do you need?" That question sparked a movement. We started a private Facebook group, Maple Grove Voices. It grew fast as residents shared their own stories of fines and harassment. A single mother was cited for suspicious guests, her black cousin visiting. A dad was targeted over his son's basketball hoop. Susan had built a kingdom of fear, but we were gaining ground. Then came a game changer. An anonymous tipster sent scanned HOA meeting notes, never made public, detailing Susan's plan to remove problematic residents who don't uphold neighborhood values. My name was listed. So was Lily's, with a wheelchair icon next to it. I posted the document to the group, redacting names for safety. The reaction was explosive. Someone leaked it to a local news station. Susan hit back with a cease and desist letter taped to my door, accusing me of defamation and disrupting community harmony. She was scared, and she should have been. The story was out. That night, Lily asked, "Did I do something wrong, Dad?" Her voice was so small it broke me. I knelt beside her. "No, sweetheart. You did everything right. Now it's time the world sees that." We recorded a video, just her voice, a black screen with captions. "My name is Lily. I live in a neighborhood where people smile, but not really. I got sick from the food someone gave me. When my dad tried to protect me, we were treated like the problem. I'm not the problem. I'm just a kid." I uploaded it anonymously. Within 24 hours, It had 100,000 views. Then 300,000. Hashtags like Justice for Lily and HOA harassment trended locally. Susan tried to save face, posting a community unity potluck and posting a photo with a lasagna tray, captioned, "We all make mistakes, but Maple Grove heals together." No one bought it. Comments tore her apart. Residents shared their own stories: an elderly widow fined for an unmowed lawn, a father shamed for his autistic son's disruptive laughter. The potluck flopped, only her loyal board members showed up. Lily's video went global, hitting 600,000 views. News outlets ran headlines: "Disabled girl targeted by HOA, suburban scandal sparks outrage." Disability advocates and legal experts weighed in, calling for Susan's removal. But Susan wasn't done. She sent an eviction notice, citing violations of community standards. It was absurd. HOAs can't evict homeowners on such grounds, but the letter, signed by Susan and 2 loyalists, scared Lily. "Are we leaving again?" she whispered. I promised her, "Not this time." I hired a civil rights attorney, Diane, who called the case potentially landmark. She filed an injunction to block the notice and subpoenaed HOA financials. The records were a goldmine. A $10,000 invoice to a landscaping firm owned by Susan's brother for community beautification. That never happened. Another $7,000 for accessibility upgrades that didn't exist. HOA dues had been siphoned off through fake projects. I posted a redacted summary online, and the community erupted. Reporters showed up at Susan's door. She refused to answer, her porch light flicking off. Her house went up for sale the next day, a moving van pulling in by noon. She vanished without a word. The HOA called an emergency town hall, the first in years. The community center was packed, the line stretching around the block. I brought Lily, who clung to my hand in her blue hoodie. Neighbors I'd never met nodded in support. Some hugged us. Susan sat at the front, her face tight, her voice rehearsed. "Emotions are high, but facts matter," she began. No one listened. I stood and spoke for 10 minutes, laying out the evidence: the spoiled food, the email, the fraud. My voice trembled with rage, but never broke. Then Lily raised her hand. I asked if she wanted to speak. She wheeled forward, took the mic, and said, "I didn't ask to be different. I just wanted to live here. I didn't think grown-ups could be so mean, but my dad stood up, and I'm proud of him." The room went silent. Then one person clapped. Then more. Soon, everyone was on their feet. Susan tried to respond, but the board cut her off. A vote of no confidence passed overwhelmingly. Susan was suspended, her allies resigned, and the HOA began to crumble. 3 days later, Detective Carter called. He'd seen the news and opened a fraud investigation. I brought everything: invoices, emails, video footage, Lily's testimony. He spent 2 hours reviewing it, then said, "This is bigger than we thought." The case wasn't just about harassment, it involved potential civil rights violations. The local NBC affiliate aired a segment, "Disability Discrimination and Deception," featuring Lily's quote, "I didn't ask to be different." Susan's reputation was in tatters. The HOA restructured, hiring an outside auditor and drafting a fairer charter. I helped write it, the problem tenant turned advocate. Maple Grove held its first Community Inclusion Day, with a new wheelchair-accessible garden path named Lily's Lane. When Lily cut the ribbon, the crowd roared. I cried. Detective Carter called again. Susan faced charges for fraud, misuse of funds, and discrimination. "You didn't just stand up for your daughter," he said. "You stood up for everyone." Months later, the neighborhood felt different. Residents spoke openly, no longer afraid. Lily still flinched at unexpected knocks, but therapy and time helped. Her stomach issues faded, and we made a ritual of visiting her favorite diner for milkshakes after sessions. One Sunday, she asked, "Are there more Susans out there?" I nodded. "But there are more good people, too. And now we know how to handle the bad ones." 6 months after the news died down, a handwritten note appeared in our mailbox, no signature. "You made me think. I didn't see her as a little girl before, just a problem. I'm sorry." It didn't matter who wrote it. It was proof that speaking up changes more than rules, it changes hearts. This wasn't just about rotten food or one cruel neighbor. It was about what happens when the invisible are seen. I thought silence would protect Lily, but it only empowered Susan. Lily taught me that strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's a quiet voice that shakes the world. Lily's Lane isn't just named for her, it's built on her courage. To everyone reading, have you faced injustice in your neighborhood? Have you been made to feel small for existing? Share your story in the comments. Do you think standing up to bullies like Susan is worth the fight, or does it risk too much? Take a stand, share your thoughts, and let's talk about confronting cruelty and building communities where everyone belongs. Your voice matters.